What makes the difference between an Irish demonstration and a French one? First, in Ireland, or at least on the 3rd of November, everyone, almost, knew why they were protesting. Not always the case in France. It also means that a fair proportion of people in the streets actually cares about the media cover of the event, despite all the mostly unfounded criticism I've heard on the subject. This image awareness that I witnessed in Dublin isn't the very first characteristic of a French demonstrator. The incident at the Department of Finance relieved me a bit, however, I have to admit. I am not advocating the use of violence on the demonstrators' part, but seeing demonstrators peacefully sitting beaten up by riot squads on TV always had a good effect on public opinion. And the occupation of the department has started as a peaceful act. The problem being, as soon as the riot police started pushing people out, there was very few peaceful people left in front of the Department of Justice. Even if the ones that got beaten up were actually the ones sitting. This was pretty similar to France, the difference being that usually, violent rioters in France are just here for violence, not for the protest. What I didn't expect was the peaceful sitting in front of the Dáil, which wasn't covered by the media as it should have been. It is quite an accomplishment to have a few hundred people to sit quietly there without anything wrong happening. It never happens in France. I sat down there thinking, in a few hours, people are going to start coming back from work, the traffic will be jammed, there will be proper media cover, and hopefully nobody will start throwing cans around and the riot squads will be excessively violent because they're not used to this. That would have actually been something we never get to use in France because of the recurrent violence. A proper peaceful sitting being properly crushed by squads. But we didn't get that far. Why? Because the crowd in front of the Dáil was happy enough to leave once the battery for the music was gone, at 4:45 p.m. They didn't want it to get violent anyway, but being peaceful is not being passive. You don't get anything by sitting with your friends listening to music and then leaving when it arranges everyone. As a result, all you can hear, see, or read about is on the violent incident at the Department of Finance, and very few about the sitting. What sitting? The success of the march is based on its interpretation by the media. In France, we have two types of marches. The conventional ones, which you don't even hear about, and the violent ones, which end up scaring the voters and not the government. They usually move up in the polls because of it. In Ireland, where you have inexperienced riot squads and enough properly involved students, it would be possible to use a third kind of protest, the most media efficient, peaceful but not engendering police brutalities. This kind of protest would win the voters' sympathy. This is how you scare a government and manage to bring a reform down. But it seems that either involved Irish students are afraid of civil disobedience, either they're just a bit too lazy to push it far enough. Anyway, the result is the same in France or in Ireland. The reform passes. In our case, the government should have had to be more scared by the protest effect on public opinion than by IMF threats. This goal is definitely not achieved yet.